Hello friends and fellow science fiction fans. First of all, I do apologise for the lighting. It's mid-afternoon, pitch black outside, and the lighting in this room is not fantastic, so I hope you can see me all right. Right, today I've got the fifth part of my Hugo Winners project. For anybody coming in that hadn't seen any of the others, I'll quickly explain. Back in the 60s and 70s, I used to read an awful lot of science fiction, but most of it short stories. So, having become interested in science fiction, collecting and reading again, a big nostalgia kick of mine, I decided to read more, and this time to read some novels. And so I thought, well, where to start? Well, I'll do the novels that won the Hugo Winners Award, assuming that they're all top science fiction works. Now, this is not a review. It's I'm not dissecting the books ad nauseum. I'm just giving you my impressions of the books as I read them. I've got a couple of books that I've read recently that won the Hugo, and I must admit I was surprised by both of them. So I'll get into it a bit later. Now, I'll just talk to you a little about the actual book itself. Right, this is The Man in the High Castle by Philip Dick. Some of you might have read it, some of you might know it from the TV programme that was on recently. Now, this particular edition is a very nice condition book club hardback. Now, you don't see this this book out in the wild very often. In fact, this is the only copy I've seen, I think. And I bought it on a market stall for 50p. And online you can pick it up for 15 to 20 quid now in that sort of condition. And I must admit my thinking about this book was probably prejudiced by the fact that I quite enjoyed the TV series. And it's basically about an alternate history where the Axis powers, Germany and Japan, won the World War II. We got beaten. And in this book, the Japanese and the Germans have partitioned America, cut it up between themselves. And the book is set in the Japanese quarter, or the Japanese held parts. Now, it's a strange book in as much as there are four sort of main characters to the book, and the book flits around between all four of these characters, which is not my favourite ideal setup for a novel, to be honest. I like main protagonist all the way through. Now you have a Mr. Tagomi, who is I think I've got that right, Mr. Tagomi, who is the head of the Japanese Trade Commission, I think it is. Then you have Robert Childan, who is he's an antique dealer. And then you have Fink, who is a Jew. Frink, who is a Jew who originally was called Fink, and he tries to hide the fact that he's a Jew. And you have his ex-wife, Paula, I believe, who is not really a major character in the book, but comes into it later on. And as I say, those four characters, it's their it's their story. I mean, I can't go too much into it, although if you've seen the TV show, you'll be more aware. But for anybody that wants to read a book, can't go into it too much more than that because there'll be lots of spoilers along the way. Now, I must admit, I was underwhelmed by this book. I thought it, obviously it's a very famous science fiction book. I was a bit underwhelmed by it, to be honest. It didn't hang together quite well for me, and parts of it were muddled, as if Dick was on one of his drug-fueled trips, and the language got a bit strange. So yeah, I mean, overall, as I say, I found it a strange read altogether, in as much as there wasn't really that much happened, to be honest. It wasn't a page turner exactly. So, on that basis, on the usual scale of 1 to 10, where 5 is average, I could only give it a 6, which might be a bit controversial to some people that have read it, but that's how I saw it. And as I say, that surprised me because I expected to really enjoy it, and I thought there'd be more to it, and I thought I would, be giving it a better appraisal. But there we are. I was surprised. Now, the second book I read, just finished it a couple of days ago. Where Late the Sweet Birds Sang by Kate Wilhelm. Now, this is a book that, when you mention Hugo Award winners, Kate Wilhelm's name doesn't come up too often, and the book title doesn't come up too often either, which is a shame because I thought it was a really good book, apart from one small thing that nagged at me towards the end of the book. But yeah, I mean, this is another book that you don't see out in the wild too often. You can pick it up reasonably cheaply on eBay. At least you can pick up sort of recent editions of it. This is the first American paperback by Pocket Books, and I've had this for about 45 years. Just got around to reading it. Basically, it's a book about cloning. What happens is there are a lot of catastrophes, like the government sort of like sticking its head in the sand over global warming, pollution, and then the pandemics start to strike, and it wipes out a lot of the human race. And there are natural catastrophes as well. And pretty soon there aren't many humans left at all. And this complex you see here is a lot of buildings on farmland, which all the local people that own them, they all banded together to make this complex, where they had the idea of cloning. There are a lot of scientists, amongst the people that worked here, and cloning became an imperative because pretty soon there will be no humans left at all. So they start cloning themselves, and as time goes on, they clone each other because there's no humans left. And I found it a very well written, in places very touching read. There's no protagonist that goes all the way through the book. You have a girl called Molly, who's a clone who doesn't quite fit in to the collective. The collective all more or less know what each other are doing, without sort of like an ESP, if you like, telepathic. And Molly doesn't fit in. And eventually well, no, I can't tell you because that's spoilers, but her son comes into it in that's Molly's in the first third of the book. It's divided into 3 separate chapters, by the way. And her son Mark is the main protagonist of the third part of the book. Mark is an expert at the outdoors. He knows everything about the outdoors because the clones have to take trips to find provisions, materials to keep them going. Otherwise, before long they're just going to run out of everything and cease to function. So, and Mark is an expert. He does a lot of scouting. Now there was a section, as I mentioned later on in the book, where it went on a bit. Description of Mark's journey through this environment, and it was overly descriptive, and it went on a bit. And that was the only thing that it didn't spoil the book for me, but it kind of annoyed me because I was enjoying it so much. And more than that, I can't really tell you without getting into the old dreaded spoiler territory. But all I can tell you is it's, in my opinion, it's a great book, and sadly underrated and undermentioned. That's just my assessment of it. On a scale of the usual 1 to 10, with 5 average, I would have given it a 10, except for the bit that niggled me. So I would give it 9.5 on that basis. But it's one that I would certainly recommend. So, I mean, as I say, I've had that book for ages and never thought about reading it. So as I say, it's only this project that brought me to it. So that's the 2 books that I read in the last week and a bit. Both quite short books, so it wasn't a problem getting through them. I'm thinking that, by the way, I should mention that Man in the High Castle, that won the Hugo Award in 1963, I believe it was. And Where Late the Sweet Bird Sang was 1977, if I remember correctly. So, as you'll have noticed from this project, I've tended to read vintage winners, from the 50s, 60s and 70s. I think we're on about, a dozen or more now, just over a dozen. But I'm thinking that I should really read something more contemporary. So over the next week or 2, I'm going to try and read stuff that have been written in the last, say, 10, 15 years. I've got a couple of ideas. There's one book I've actually got. It's a bit long, but I'll have a bash at it. So yeah, I mean, some of you might be more familiar with the contemporary books. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I've got planned anyway. I've also got planned a video about the shmups, shoot 'em ups on the Switch, because I have quite a decent collection now. And I've got an idea for another one as well. So I'm well stocked up for ideas for the next few. And of course, I've got more of these Hugo Project Award winners. So anyway, thank you very much for your indulgence once again. Please comment, love the comments, so please write in, send a message in. Please share. I mean, that's a big thing where I can maybe build up a bigger viewer base for the science fiction, and just the usual things, liking and all helps. And all that's left for me to do is to say thank you for watching again, and I'll keep on reading, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye now.